Hello, and welcome to Lecture 2 on Cognition. In order to think, to reason, problem solve, and make decisions, we have to categorize our world, and we spend a tremendous amount of time every day doing this. We're not aware that we're doing this, but we are doing this. To categorize our world, we do this in several ways, and one of the ways is by using concepts, which are mental representations of that group of categorized objects, events, or relations around a common theme. So we begin to learn how to categorize our world very early in life. Let's see. Some of the categorizations we might create would be, what are people? And we come up with an idea of what represents a human. Or events, we might develop concepts of events. What is a social event? Now, concepts may be formed by defining either attributes, prototypes, or exemplars. So we're going to look at the defining attribute model, prototype model, and the exemplar model. The defining attribute model is a concept characterized by a list of features, a concept is characterized by a list of features that are necessary to determine if an object is a member of a category. So we develop this list of features that we use to, when we're categorizing our world, we look at the various defining attributes. What are necessary attributes for a human being? What's a necessary attribute for a pet? What's a necessary attribute for an automobile? And then we mentally flip through an object's defining attributes to categorize that object. So ask yourself, what are the attributes of a chair? I would say, has 4 legs, has a back, often made out of wood, but not always. Lots of attributes. I'm sure you can think of more than I can think right now. Not a hard question, but it seems to be for me. How is a chair different from a couch or a stool? So a stool might just have 3 legs. It might not have a back on it. A couch could have more than 4 legs. It's soft. It's made out of fabric. It can fit more than one person. And so as we are looking at furniture, we have to categorize what that is. What are the attributes of a chair versus a couch? How do these differ? But how are they similar? Then we get to the prototype model. And this is an approach to object categorization that is based on the premise that within each category, some members are more representative than others. So we're not just looking at the attributes. We're looking at what attributes are most important for that category, that are more representative of that category than some of the other attributes that you might have for that category. So basically you're creating a kind of like a hierarchy of attributes. So if you imagine a chair, according to the prototype model, when we encounter a new object, we compare it to our prototypes. If it is similar enough to a particular prototype, we put the new object in that category. So I wish I had pulled up a picture of this, but I think you've all probably seen the chair that looks like a hand. And so the 4 fingers are the chair back, and the palm is the seat. Now, that's not going to match your prototype for a chair. You will eventually categorize it as a chair, but your your prototype attributes are going to be more things like the 4 legs, has a back, might or might not have armrests. And then we get to the exemplar model. Now this model maintains that any concept has no single best representation. Instead, all examples or exemplars of category members form the concept. So the word exemplar, you can just replace the word with example. So when you encounter a new object that is chair-like, you flip through all the examples of a chair that you have in your mind. And if the object that you're looking at resembles any of those exemplars, you decide it's a chair. So like the chair that is shaped like a hand. It takes you longer in your unconscious mind to flip through all that information and decide what is that. And then you decide, okay, it fits the category of a chair. It is an example of a chair. So the exemplar model is maintaining that there's no single best representation, where the prototype model is kind of creating a hierarchy of the attributes of a chair. The defining attribute model looks at, decides what are attributes of a chair. Okay, I don't know why I have this. Okay, this kind of simplifies this. So as we're categorizing our world, we do so in one of 3 ways. We use attributes. So we're using the features of an object to match it to similar objects. We can use prototypes, which our mind thinks of as the most likely example of a chair. Instance of a chair. What is the most typical attributes for a chair? And the exemplars are where you're looking at individual instances of a concept or category held in memory. So when we come to the question, is tomato a fruit or a vegetable? Well, we have to look at our attributes. What are some of the attributes of a vegetable? What are some of the attributes of a fruit? When it comes to prototypes, what is the most typical aspect for a fruit or a vegetable? But exemplars lets you categorize these in different ways. You can look at a fruit, and we know that a fruit can be a tomato. We know that a tomato is a fruit because we know the defining attributes. It has seeds, and it is one instance of that concept or category. Now, what throws us sometimes is that it's, in the grocery store when you go to buy tomatoes, it's with all the vegetables. It's not over by things like apples and bananas and oranges.